Hello, today we're going to continue working on classifying triangles by angles and sides. As a reminder, you have three types of triangles when classifying triangles by angles. We have an acute triangle, a right triangle, and an obtuse triangle. Now, many of you already have these notes in your notebook or on scrap paper to help you with the activities today and this entire week. However, just as a reminder, an acute triangle has three acute angles. That means the triangle consists of three angles that are all less than 90 degrees. A right triangle has one right angle and two acute angles. That right angle means that there is an angle that is exactly 90 degrees. When that exists, that means a right triangle is present. Now, by looking at this triangle right here, we have our right angle here. Notice it's classified by that box representing a 90-degree angle. When that is present, you can classify this triangle as a right triangle. And finally, we have an obtuse triangle. An obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle and two acute angles. That means there's one angle that you can identify that is greater than 90 degrees. That means you have an obtuse triangle. Now you can classify triangles by angles or by sides. When classifying triangles by sides, you have three types of triangles: Equilateral Triangle, Isoceles Triangle, and Scalene Triangle. Now, as a reminder, an equilateral triangle means that all sides are the same side length. Notice in this triangle here, all three side lengths are 5 units. Therefore, you can classify this triangle as an equilateral triangle. Here we have an isosceles triangle. That means at least two sides are the same length. Now you can tell that this triangle here is isosceles because two of the given side lengths are both 6 units. And in fact, you might even see that with a marking like this, with one dash for both of those sides to represent that they are equal measurements. And then the side length that's 10 units might have two dashes to show that this side length is different than the other two. Just like in this equilateral triangle here, you might see the triangle with 3 dashes, one dash for each side length, representing that there are 3 equal sides that create this equilateral triangle. Now, the last type of triangle we have is a scalene triangle. That means no sides are the same side length. Now, notice here in this triangle we have 5 units, 7 units, and 9 units, but you might see this with one dash, 7 units is 2 dashes, and 9 units is 3 dashes. Now, notice each side length has different markings on it because all 3 sides are different side lengths. Now, if you are not given the exact measurement and you're just given side lengths that are marked up with dashes, take a close look at those dashes because that will really help you to identify what type of triangle it is. Now, during today's activities, you're either going to be classifying triangles by angles or sides. To determine that, you have to see what is given to you. Just like in this problem here, it's the triangle we have here has 3 side lengths that are given to us. We have 5 feet, 11 feet, and 15 feet. I'm noticing by this triangle there are 3 different side lengths given. So that means I can either classify it as scalene, isosceles, or an equilateral triangle. But notice here it says it's a scalene triangle. We know that this is the correct answer because all 3 side lengths are different measurements. In this next triangle, it's telling us it's an acute triangle, but how can I prove that this is correct? I can prove that this is right by looking at the given angles. I have a 40-degree angle, a 60-degree angle, and an 80-degree angle. All 3 angles are less than 90 degrees, which is telling me that all 3 angles are acute angles. Therefore, you can classify this triangle as an acute triangle. In this next triangle, it's a right triangle, but I notice here that there are no angles or no sides given to me. However, if I take a closer look at this triangle, I notice this marking here in the corner. And in this angle here, that marking, that box represents that this is a 90-degree angle. Or we can call this angle a right angle. So that means right away when you see this marking, it's telling you you can classify this triangle as a right triangle. Even though the other angle measurements are not given to you, that's automatically telling you that the other two angles will be acute angles because there is one 90-degree angle. So when you are classifying triangles, look for those right angle measurements because it will help you to quickly classify the type of triangle it is. In this next triangle, it's telling us it's an obtuse triangle. But again, how do we know that this is an obtuse triangle? Well, let's take a look at the angle measurements given to us. Right away, I notice that we have an angle measurement of 130 degrees. That's telling me that it is in fact greater than 90 degrees, so we can classify this angle as an obtuse angle. My other two angles are acute angles, but because I have one obtuse angle, that means this entire triangle can be classified as an obtuse triangle. Here I have an equilateral triangle. Now that means this triangle was classified by the sides. That's telling me I had three options: scalene, isosceles, or equilateral triangle to classify this specific triangle. But I notice I'm not given any side lengths, but I see markings on my side. Now, as a reminder, the markings on the side are these lines right here: one dash, and one dash. Notice all three sides have the same exact marking. They all have one dash. That means whatever that exact side length is, they are all going to be the same for all three sides. So they are all equal side lengths, which is telling me I can classify this triangle as an equilateral triangle. Now, finally, we have an isosceles triangle. Now, I can prove that this is an isosceles triangle by looking at my given side lengths. I see here that this side length is 10 inches, and this side length is also 10 inches. So I'm going to keep those both in yellow, and I'm going to highlight my other side length of 16 inches. Now the two side lengths that are both in yellow, they're the exact same side length, but the third side length is a different side length measurement. Therefore, we can classify this as an isosceles triangle. Now think about my hint from the previous video. Isosceles triangle, I hear isosceles. How many eyes do we have? We have two eyes, which means an isosceles triangle has two equal side lengths. When you see two side lengths of the exact same measurement, that means you can classify this as an isosceles triangle. Now, during today's activities, I encourage you to go back through this video. I encourage you to review the meaning of each of these types of triangles, whether you're classifying them by angles or by sides. So I encourage you to refer back to this video or previous videos on my YouTube channel at any time to help you with today's activities.